Thank you so much, Monica, for starting us off with that wonderful oldie, and you gave us the opportunity to hear the Leo reverberate within the Umeke, and that's such a special thing to be able to hear those sounds that emanate from within. So mahalo nui, and mahalo to Meleana also for adding her leo to that voice of honoring and welcoming. So welcome you all to a conversation, a deep conversation about Umeke La'au. My name is Noelle Kahanu, and I'm one of the curators, one of 3 curators for the Hawaii Triennial 2025. And it's myself, along with Bina Choi, who is in South Korea, and Wesson Al-Kudari, who is traveling about somewhere. So I'm here, but I'm just so pleased, and I have the honor of sharing this panel, along with the conceiver of the Umeke La'au, Meleana Meyer. And we also have her team Umeke. So multiple people, their hands, their mana, went into the creation of this beautiful work. And so that is Amber Khan here and Kainoa Gupsi. And I'm going to, you'll hear more about all the hands that touched the Umeke. But I want to especially call out to Dean Crowell, who runs the program, the carpentry program at Honolulu Community College. And he and his students helped to put together the core of the Umeke before it transitioned to the third floor of the University of Hawaii Art Department, where it completed its outer skin. So it moved a lot before it came to Honolulu, to rest here in Honolulu, Hale. I do really want to thank and acknowledge the Mayor's Office of Culture and the Arts, Ka'ili Trask O'Connell, as well as Marion Kadora. They can wave their hands and just and I don't know if any of you saw earlier, just a few minutes ago, the mayor was passing by on his way. And I just love the way the Umeke has been kind of adopted within this building. The mayor is quite proud of the Umeke. He's conducted at least one meeting in here, along with several of the other departments as well. So those are just sort of my introductory remarks. I will say that I remember distinctly we were in Namea. We were on the third floor on Nu'uanu Avenue. The three curators and the small team of folks from Hawaii Contemporary. And Meleana came up with her pamphlet, her little like drawings of an Umeke. She talked about, and I think, so let me have to just share a little bit about the curatorial process. When conceiving of the theme of Aloha No, Aloha No reverberates beyond Hawaii. And one of the amazing things about Meleana is her ability to work with community, not just within Hawaii, but beyond. She had just come back from the Sharjah Biennial, where she took her Aina Aloha mural and had been to Palestine, had worked with artists in the Middle East, and so we were very interested in some kind of cross-cultural solidarity work. And so that's sort of the seed you plant, and then this happened. And so I guess maybe we can start, I'll stop and I'll start from there, which is how was the seed of the Umeke planted for you? And yeah, and I can even, go ahead.
I just wanted to let you know that we have Aloha No in this bag right here, this beautiful peva that I want Monica to somehow hold up. So there you go, there it is. So honestly, there was an amazing summit in June of last year, and this extraordinary team put together a portfolio or a book of thoughts from our kupuna. And they were so compelling. I was deeply moved by it. And I saw, instead of a kahako over the O, I saw a peva. So believe it or not, that's how this whole idea got percolating. I said to myself, well, sooner than that, because I love Umeke, and I've taught with it as a tool, an object of mahalo to Kiakua, and a vessel for keeping our treasured mea, what vai, for protocols, salts, and other precious things, olena, etc. And it was this little voice that said to me, you know, this is time to do something big. I had no idea it was going to be a 22-foot umeke, but here's how those things happen. I was invited to, as a triennial artist, into the space, and I just said, well, we could project film, or we could do large mural pieces or hangings, but the space is cavernous, you know? It needs something large to hold it, to establish it, to make its presence known. So whatever gets created has to have that. So when I suggested it, everybody kind of looked down and then looked up at me and went, well, you know, we can always try. But it was a huge undertaking, and I was compelled. And I also was really scared out of my wits on some level, but compelled by the kupuna. So there's a puke right over there. It's a ku'e petition signed by 38,000 Hawaiians against annexation. So, you know, I come from a legacy and tradition of activism and all of that good stuff. My grandfather, great-grandfather, I mean, everyone, lawyers and people who have tried to make a difference. And I just said, you know, if I could do something, what would it be? I would like to make a large umeke. And so I negotiated and wanted it to be 30 feet. But in the end, the number 22 has sort of followed me around everywhere. So I said, oh, and on top of that, it's a master building number. So then you find out all these really interesting things. And the next process was really in deep pule to find incredibles who could do this work. And I have to say, to compliment and just to mahalo my dear friends up here, when I called Dean, we had done a mural together for HCC maybe a year or two ago, yeah. And it was so much fun. And this guy's an amazing artist. And you know, if you don't like, and Hawaiians never brag either, so that's more worse. So I said, hey, I know you are carpentry, kumu. You get guys who can do this, the inner part of the umeke. And let me show you the inner part because it's great. But let me just brag on these two over here. I followed Amber and her beautiful trees that marched around with these beautiful big feet. You'd have to see them to believe them. They're spectacular. Kainoa had a show down at Aupuni, and I actually went down there to see his work. And then I was able to say, oh my God, this guy's brilliant. I think I can work with him. And I know him. I kind of, you know, have known these two. And it was like a magic moment. I said, wow, this is definitely going to happen. Maybe. If we can just work together and see how this is all going to happen. And you know, from the moment I said yes to this project till today, kupuna have helped along the way, and friends and family and beloveds have helped along the way. So I'm just saying, if the universe wants something to happen, it'll happen. It has been the privilege of my life, outside of having a child. This beautiful baby was born on February 14th, and it has been the thrill of my life. So I'm just gonna give you that context, and then I'm gonna have Kainoa take that peva off our beautiful umeke so you can see what it looks like. Because you have to know, you know, all of us are well trained here. We all have done our work, and these peva hold such significance. Yeah, there we go. It's so cute. We're gonna pass it around so you can feel the heaviness of it. You're also gonna need to know that this wood came from a military base. So I said, oh, this is so perfect. We have so much work to do with the military. Oh, so much work. So I just want the privilege of holding that and understanding in terms of repair all of the work we have to do together. And then you'll be able to come up here and see 3/4 ply and all the drilled holes and bolts and this and that. But I want to turn over the mic to Dean, so that he can just share a little bit about his 17 beloved students who really, unless you have a question, you want to ask a question of Dean?
So before we get to the manifestation of it at Honolulu Community College, there's a photo that sometimes in a presentation she'll share, Meleana, which is a little maquette. It's a little, it looks like it's made out of chopsticks or something. And it's kind of small. Maybe it can fit in the palm of your hand or two hands. And I guess I want to converse between the three of you, how that process of transmitting from paper and pencil into a three-dimensional sculptural piece, which Meleana is a filmmaker, she's a muralist, a painter, but 3D sculpture is not high on the list, but both of you have that. So I'm wondering, yeah, can we talk a little bit more about how did you guys translate her concept?
Yeah. Echoey. Hi, I'm Kanoa, and yeah, so basically we were sitting on a mat in Auntie Melly's front yard with some boiled peanuts for snacks, and we were thinking about how this could come together. She had the number of 22 feet for the, the diameter. And we were holding up a string in the yard to see like how big that actually feels like, and our thoughts on like if that's possible and stuff like that. And I was thinking like, yeah, we can do it. We can try. I made one small skateboard ramp once before, so it's basically the same thing. And yeah, we were thinking of like what the material might be and like the process of construction. And one thing that we knew was that we weren't going to be able to build it here. We were going to have to build it somewhere. We didn't know where we were going to build it, but we had to build it somewhere and take it apart probably and transport it and put it back together. So thinking of how it could be like constructed in pieces and that kind of thing. So the little chopsticks model came from just thinking about like how to divide the Umeke into like sections that could be all like almost the same and put together in like a series and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. This is a hot mic. I guess a lot of the question that I get when people want to know how do we connect, you mentioned that you had followed our work even before we moved to London. And you kind of, when we got back in 2023 of October, we had reconnected with you, and we were at your house a lot, and I think we were like helping you just sort through a few things, and you brought up this random idea. You're like, so guys, I know you guys make big work, particularly you just finished making that kalo outside of East West Center, and I remember we had just finished installing it and you walked up. It was super random. It was like, what are you doing here? And you were like, this is so right. You guys are the right people. And we were kind of like, it was like half baked in our mind. Like, what is she really talking about? We didn't really understand that we were gonna at that point be making a Umeke with you. And then I think we had ended up at your house. No, we had did the PEVA workshop at the AF Festival, and you were super stoked on that. And at that point, we were really into kind of studying Japanese joinery and just different kinds of, really playing with joinery and PEVA and pushing it as far as we could. And I remember at one point, because PEVA for us, we both work with wood, so it's very functional, and we hadn't thought beyond the whole artists as PEVA in the community in terms of like being these healers. So that was a really new concept for us working with you, which has been really transformative. But we were just kind of like doing whatever with these PEVAs. And I remember you were looking at us like, because at this point we didn't know a ton about wood. We were making people who had never done joinery before put PEVAs in kiave, which if you don't know the nature of kiave, it's an extremely hard wood. And we didn't, I mean, maybe as a learning curve, if you can put a pivot in Chiave, you can put a pivot in anything. But you were like, you guys are just doing it like kind of in the wrong way, but I love it. And but then at that point you were like, you guys, I know you're the right people to do this project with me. And you went off onto the side for the AF Festival, and I saw this like rain cloud of stormy ideas like happening, and I was like, she's cooking up something. I don't really know what's going on, but that was I feel like that was the birth of our partnership, like a really solid partnership between us. And then we ended up at your house, and we were on these little hollow mats, planning stuff, making paper maquettes, eating boiled peanuts, and I held up string, and you were like, no, go further back, go further, because he was holding the other end of the string, and you're like, no, it's got to be 22 feet and 7 feet high, and I was like, fuck, this is really high. It's too big, man. Yeah, that was kind of the birth of our collaboration, but yeah, I don't know. Where do I go from there?
I've been watching them and kind of sussing their work out all along, because you know what you want most of all? You want people who are nice, who play well in the sandbox, who have generous spirits, and who are brilliant. I get to work with brilliant, genius people, whether it's film or mural work or this, for example. So I just have to say, I spend a lot of time looking at art and just kind of being with people and sensing energies and things. And these two have just hit it out of the park as exceptional human beings and exceptional artists. And it's a privilege to be with these three. And I will turn it over to Dean and just brag. You know what? It's okay to brag, okay? So I'm just going to say, Dean, I met him doing a mural at Honolulu Community College, and he would do these drawings, and I go, dude, you're really good at this, you know, so what the heck? So after that mural was done, when this was all being considered, I just went, we really need a team of people to do this. And so this one over here says, oh, Kumo, I can do it all. I can do it. And I'm going, why would you do it?
He thought he was going to build this whole thing, just the two of us.
I know.
I was like, no, Kainoa.
No, Kainoa. And it's like in the back of his house, and he's using I'm going, what possessed you to say that? I'm going to call my buddy here, and he has a whole bunch of students, and they're going to help make this happen. So this is where you take over, Dean.
Aloha, everyone. So I'm Dean Crow. I teach the second year in carpentry. I teach framing and finishing. So within my course that I teach, I incorporate sustainability, culture-based, and place-based education. So when I was approached by Meleana, if we could kokua, or if we would like to kokua, I was like, this is a perfect project for my students. Not only does my students who have the ability to work on something meaningful, but also the students are able to learn production framing, which is typically not taught in my course that I teach. So this project actually gave my students the opportunity to learn, what was it again? Shucks, again. Framing, anyhow, production framing, production framing. So, ask my students if they would like to participate, because we do not go out into the community and help an organization unless I have 100% participation from the students. So we typically, in my second year, I go out into the community and help. And they all said yes, they would like to help. And it was a great learning experience for them, yeah. So we got to talk about how the Umeke relates to us individually and what it means, yeah. It's a circle of life, And it was, vital back in the ancient days for sustainability. And for me, as a former carpenter and now an instructor and an artist, I like to make umekes on my own free time. Yeah, but I do not use a lathe. I'm still learning how to use the lathe, so I do it freehand. So, so this umeke was like, oh, perfect, because my tutu was a bowl maker, and I have one of his bowls. So this was really meaningful to me, but also I saw it as a great opportunity for my students, because when would we ever have the opportunity to do something such as this? Yeah. So we were met with, a little resistance, but we pulled through, and everything came out great. And yeah, just like to say that Kainoa, he drew out the plans, and he actually made the pieces, and I was really impressed. And I was like, wow, he did all of the calculations, and he made a miniature model before, making the actual size. And he could have done it himself, yeah, because he did a terrific job in doing it, but it took a lot of work. Yeah, so my students, I have one student right there in the back, Kira Abe. Um, yeah, so she was really technical, making sure that all of the pieces were cut to the exact same and making it all repetitious. So she was a foreman running the group, making sure that everything came out correct. And I'm glad how it turned out, yeah. And I'm surprised that without any carpentry experience, it turned out beautifully on the outside. So, mahalo.
Plenty work, brother, plenty work, plenty work. The exciting part about this too, Kira, right? There were 17, 16 young men and one woman. By the time she put on her belts, her hat, her protective this and that, all of it was heavier than she was. And I would just want to brag on you, young lady. We had so much fun just experiencing all of this being built. And when we had to move it all, it took hours and hours and hours and truckloads, only 2 truckloads to be honest. But I just want to have Kainoa, and I just want to thank also the University of Hawaii's art department, because they had never done anything like this. And I have to do smile and pray a lot, and just promise the world, and sure, I will do studio visits, and we'll do this, and I'll meet with students here and there, and I'll do a residency, whatever you want me to do, as long as we have a place that we can build, because that was our next worry. So you have to know, without all of these pieces in place, it was a huge gamble, but Kupuna really wanted it done, because this is time to do the work for all of us. This is not a Hawaiian-only project. This belongs to every single person in this room and beyond. And that's what we plan on doing. We plan on making it accessible to everyone. So, Noelle?
I'm going to read from Meliana's proposal. And I'm doing this because, in part, Dean's reference to being making umeke and having it be in his family. So I think part of what we haven't really drilled down into is, what does an umeke represent, right? So this is from your proposal in June of last year. Umeke, calabash, bowl, container, a symbol of care and cultural practice, a form with a function and an aesthetic. As our physical bodies are containers for our souls, umeke, as holders of mea vai vai, precious things, are what many of us see and choose as proper receptacles to practice our protocols, using our vai, our waters, pa'akai, salts, and olena, turmeric, for the practice of some of our healing traditions, Umeke are what holds and protects. It represents a worldview that values ritual and its practices. To me, this is Meliana's voice, right? Kanaka Oiwi, as a Hawaiian, Mo'omeheu, our culture, helps to define many of my practices in the regaining and reimagining so much of what has been taken, hidden, lost, forbidden, and forgotten. Ours is not an unfamiliar mo'olelo in the world's current grappling with decolonizing and reestablishing indigenous agency. In this spirit, it is ho'oulu, to regrow, regain, reestablish those precious and invaluable practices of our kupuna, our elders, so that we can become the best kinds of aumakua, ancestors that we envision in the future for our families and our beloved Hawaii. Our recovery in these times is incumbent upon us, as so much of this ancestral wisdom will be what saves us, not only our beloved Hawaii, but our ku'upapa honua, our beloved Mother Earth. I'm sharing this because a lot of times you get a proposal, and what manifests months later, maybe even years later, right, might be different. It might have shifted. But I think in so many ways, what the Umeke La'au that is here behind us still embodies that vision, that passion, that first moment when you stepped in and had this like crazy idea. But I wanna, maybe if you can share a little bit more about, it could have been any form, you know? I mean, it could have been a mahiole. It could have been, I don't know. Think about all the iconic Hawaiian forms. So what was so compelling for you about the Umeke?
That's a good question. You know, for me as an educator, everything is wrapped into this shape of a womb, of mother, of provider, in that sense of protector. So in a real way for me, I use Umeke all the time with the babies. You know, when I teach, I always say, you are this bowl of light. You are positive energy. And I just want you to write about being in Umeke and what. So this has gone on for 30 years, okay? So this is nothing new. And I think that's what inspired me, along with the peva that was above Aloha No, because I had never read anything from anybody that was as clear as what was written for this Aloha No. And I never thought that I would be inspired by a little diacritical above a letter. And I just said, what the heck? She or they are giving me permission. And I just took it and ran. That's what I did. And everybody said, well, it's ridiculous, or it's this or that. And I said, you know, you're not going to trip over us. You're not going to miss us if it's 22 feet. So in Hawaii, we want to be seen. We have things to offer, our deep Ike Hawaii, and we want you to know. We want you to hear it. We want you to taste it. We want you to smell it. Most of all, we want you to feel in your na'au the instinct of truth, the instinct of justice. I'm so over being in a place where everybody goes, oh, okay, I know the history. And then what? You stole my bicycle. You came to tell me you're sorry, but you're really not sorry because you still have my bicycle. That's the metaphor. That's just not right. What part of being a bully in the world don't people get? You know, Hawaiians, homeless, houseless. Why should 60 to 65% be the ones in prison and houseless? You know, the privileges I've had as a kama'aina, as a child of this place, is what I invite everyone to have. Why should people be houseless and incarcerated at rates 3 times, 4 times the population? It's not Right. So this, honestly, this HT25 gave me a platform. I'm so grateful because otherwise, I'd be teaching and doing what I normally do, but all of a sudden it was like, oh, I get to be one of those 49 artists. All I have to do is find an extraordinary team of people to realize this vision and then look out. You're not going to miss us at 22 feet. You're just not going to. And our kupuna are in this umeke. You don't know this, but the audio track of this calabash is the voices, the names of all of those 38,000. It just took my theater colleagues 30 hours and 10 people to do that exercise. So this piece has that kind of mana, and it's been offered prayers by the Tibetan community monks that came in for Spirit Fest. It's been offered prayers and music by our Mongolian brothers and sisters. It has been offered prayer by my beloved Tita over here, her community, my halau. So you have to know, spirit is everything, art and science is in service to spirit. It's just that simple. And it's so easy for me to say, hey, look outside. Who made that? You think we did? No. So let's get with what the program. Let's just honor Earth and Mother. And so all of this work that I've gotten to do is all about essence, because the form is here. Its function is what it's doing now. It's healing. It's inviting different groups from the community, from the medical community. It's already had 24, 3 visits from all of these different people. So it has come from that deep sense of wanting to speak truth to the injustices of things. And this has given me a great platform, and I'm really grateful because this is what community is about. We don't get to do work by ourselves. If you're really smart, you get other people who are genius types and hardworking to do that as well. So I just want to honor everyone who has had a hand in it. And Gina was supposed to be here tonight. Gina, are you here? Gina. We had a group of folks at the university. We had community folks. We've had a whole bunch of extraordinaries. And whether you've offered a prayer or whether you've stained something, he had me sanding the whole darn inside. I said, dude, this might take me forever, but it only took a couple hours. But just know, I'm dyscalculic. I don't do math. He did the math, and then he tells me I don't do math either, and I'm not even a woodworker. And I'm going, don't tell me that now. But you just need to know this is what magic looks like, alchemy. Thank you.
So it started with the biennial and now the triennial. There's something called the Golden Hibiscus Award. And this year's winner of the Golden Hibiscus Award was Team Umeke and Umeke La'au. So this is what one of the jurors had to say. Myers Umeke La'au powerfully aligns with the Hawaii Triennial 2025 theme, Aloha No, and its emphasis on aloha as accountability, truth-telling, and care. The installation embodies aloha as a living, reparative force that holds space for grief and resilience alike. In a time of global unrest, Myers' work speaks to the Pacific and beyond. She bridges ancestral knowledge with contemporary urgency, offering a model of how art can hold space for resistance, remembrance, and regeneration. One of the things I love to do is sit on the bench, one of the benches here, and just watch people interact with the umeke. And because are people coming to Honolulu Hale for art? Maybe if they've heard about Amber Khan's installation, but otherwise it's not high on your list of, oh, I'm gonna go to Honolulu Hale and see art. So they're coming to pay their water bill, or their property tax, or they're going to go to visit the mayor's office, or they're going to go to a city council meeting, right? Generally, not things you look forward to. And I think this ability to encounter the Umeke in an unexpected way kind of is also about the nation within. So I was like, UH has this term, a Hawaiian place of learning. Well, you know what? Like, here it is. In the middle of a government, like the government building of Honolulu, and to see people kind of come upon it and walk around it. Because if you first come in, you don't even know there's an opening, right? Until you come around. And then, like, they may not have time to go in initially. They've got to rush off to the thing, but then they come back. And so there's something really profound about it being situated here. It will, can I make this announcement? It is actually going to Kapolei, Hale. So it will be on the west side for several months after its tour here or its time here in Honolulu, Hale. So I'm just, I don't know what my point here is, other than to just to attest to this little slice of Hawaiian sovereignty and persistence and presence, and the voice of those who signed the Ku'e petition, their names kind of emanating from here. And the Mongolian singers, they actually sang loud enough to disrupt a city council meeting. So again, thinking, well, what does art and intervention actually look like, right? And so I just want to express my gratitude to the Hawaii Triennial and to the Hawaii Contemporary for, we have 14 venues in this iteration. We're on 3 islands. But there's a reason why each work is selected for each space. And this could not have been anywhere else, right? Yeah, so I'm wondering if any of you, all of you, can talk about the importance of place-based work, about understanding context, as a way of sort of digging deeper into the intentionality behind the work.
Maybe these aren't really my ideas, but they're just observations I've had about the Umeke as it's been here. It's kind of like a Trojan horse, or it's a very kind of explicitly political artwork, but it maybe sneaks its way in here behind its like beauty. People who are walking by, and like maybe some of the people that work here, they just see this like large, beautiful Umeke, but the voices that are being like uttered in the Umeke, like you don't hear it until you stand inside and like listen to it. And, yeah, I just think that's super cool.
Sorry. No, I'm trying to gather my thoughts. There's a lot to say about, just, first of all, I don't know if there are words to express like how grateful Kainoa and I are to you for including us in this, because as far as positionality goes, both of us, well, I, as an artist working here, who is not Native Hawaiian, I am constantly negotiating what that means in terms of my positionality and how I can come to terms with that. And yeah, that's super important in my work. It's almost all I talk about in my work. And I think before we started working with you, we were kind of hermits when we go into the studio, and just generally, we don't really go out. We don't really like, I mean, we try to do the artist network thing, but like it's hard. It's you don't want to put on this like face all the time, and our practices have always been kind of just focused, horse blinders, get in the studio, get the work done. And then we met you and we started working with you, and I started realizing, oh wow, if I want to make anything that's actually meaningful, I need to get out of that comfort zone. I need to, and you were really, and that, like I said earlier, you were really transformative in that regard, because this is, I think, the biggest work, yeah, it's the biggest work I've ever made, it's the biggest work you've ever made. And we're used to putting things out into the world, these objects that we've had this huge relationship with, you know every single curve of this 3D thing that you've made, and you have a relationship. You were listening to that podcast when that corner was made, and you know, you were having that conversation when, or that thought when that, I don't know, all these things, when you look at your work, you have all these memories attached to it, and then you put it into the world, and then it has its life. But putting this into the world, it didn't belong to us or you or anyone. It belonged to everyone, and that was a really new experience for me.
Yeah, I think just observing how it all came together, it like you said, like the hugest blessing to be in proximity to all of this work, and the entire thing was built only by like the love for the idea and the love for this place. Like there were no contracts, there were no
yeah, we never had a contract with you.
Everybody, like all the hands that touched this only like nobody was doing it for a job. Everybody was doing it because the idea like just needed to come together. And yeah, we all see this now as like an artwork that is here that we can talk about, think about, go inside, listen to, look at. But the construction of it, or like the whole everything, it coming together, the people involved, that also really felt like an artwork, like seeing just all of these relationships happening to kind of hold this up.
Yeah, there was a point while we were still in the middle of the construction, and we had visitors. My coworkers from the East West Center had all come, and Dr. Mary Hattori, who's a leader of the Micronesian community here, she came in and was in the bowl, and we were all talking. And she mentioned bringing community leaders from the Micronesian community in to talk to the Hawaiian community, and using this bowl as a place for healing in that manner. And that was when I was like, oh my God, this is so much bigger than a thing that I'm making, than an object. This is just so much more profound than anything I could have, any material thing. Yeah. So thanks.
I just want to also just say that the work is an active practice, okay? So each of us, as far as I'm concerned, maybe you should be glad that you're not my kid. I had 2 boys. I was widowed young, raised them by myself. It was difficult. And you can only imagine, I just wanted my kids to be part of community. And so for me, working with these young ones, they're 40 years my junior, for goodness sake. I just went, how is this possible that there can be this kind of commitment and passion in these young ones to do this kind of work? Because it's not easy work. This has never been done before, which I kind of love. I love that part about art, you know, where you have to problem solve all the time and just be courageous and curious and just go, yeah, maybe we can do this. But I'm just saying it takes not only a village, it takes curiosity, courage, compassion, and then repeat. You know, all of the above. So when I look at what we've done together, it wouldn't be the same if you all weren't here. So you all need to know that you're part of this conversation. And then the challenge is on you. What is it that you will do? And I think about my teachers, Auntie Lynette Paglinawan, and she said, well, what is the essence of your work? You know, you artists are so esoteric. And I went, yay, what a great word, esoteric. and then she just made me think, okay, what is the essence? The essence of this piece is prayer. The essence is all that we've put into the work of searching, seeking out justice. That is indeed what is manifested here. And my beloved Moani and community people, it isn't about the materiality, it's about the spirituality. I don't know how else to put it. And it makes it very apparent with this piece because everything was supported in its work. It was the most extraordinary project of my life. And I just want to thank the Triennial for believing and trusting, and to this wonderful team Umeke, because it could not have been created except by a team of these extraordinary people and the other 37 that we worked with. Please talk, young man, about place and art and why culture is so important. We're in cahoots here.
All right. So for me as a native Hawaiian, I was raised to always help those in need. Yeah. Love one another. As my mom would always say, when you see someone who needs help, help them. So it was, I was raised doing that, and giving service is my lifestyle. It's a lifestyle. And for me as an instructor, I wanted my students to learn that going out into the community has its benefits, because the students are able to learn professional skills by working with the client one-on-one. And also, my mom always taught me that the law of attraction, kind of like hoakaka, yeah, to see clearly. What you think about, you bring about. So when we were asked if we could help, or if we would like to help, yeah, it was a no-brainer. I was like, it's gonna get done. Yeah, there's no impossible. Yeah, I was always taught the word doesn't exist. So, and I try to teach my students that also. Yeah, don't come to me and saying you cannot. There's no such thing as cannot. There's always a way. So when we were doing this project and the time that we needed to get it done, I was like, we're gonna make it. Yeah, it's just like building a house, right? Building a house, there's a set schedule. We just got to plan everything out, making sure everything runs on time, and it'll get done. And so for me, community is huge. It is part of our culture as Kanaka. Yeah.
Can you talk about when you brought your students here?
Oh, yeah. So when my students, I brought them here when it was finally finished. They didn't see it finish, and everybody was overwhelmed. They were so ecstatic. We went inside, sat inside, and they all got to share their feelings of how they felt while working and seeing the final product. Yeah, it's really powerful. Sitting in that Umeke is it's a game changer. Yeah. So Umeke is in the culture, in our culture, is huge. Yeah, it symbolizes us individually. Like Miliana was saying, when we have, a lot of hakaka or pilikia trouble that we're dealing with, all you gotta do is empty it out and the light will shine again. So when there's, a lot of black rocks that fill up the Umeke, just dump it out and your light will shine. Yeah.
Sounds simple, yeah. What do you think? So you have to know that the guy who came up with that mana'o part of it was a gentleman named, a seer and a shaman named Hale. And so he shared that, and he was a kumu of mine. So I made a film about him and all the work that we've done traditionally to revive the culture. So none of this is accidental. It's just been a part of my life for the last 40 years. And it's just wonderful to see it realized. It is so beautiful. It is so beautiful. I'm just so excited to be here. And maybe we can answer questions or do something like that. I don't know. What do you think?
Can I just say something real quick? Real quick, and then we'll leave. I just realized we are all educators.
Yep.
And I've said this, I came to this profound realization, all on my own, Amber did, that our teachers are our greatest assets. And I really, truly believe that. I've just been sitting here listening to both of you. And I mean, I've just learned so much, like sharing your mana'a with us. I just feel so enriched. And I don't know, I'm a new lecturer. Like I've only been teaching for a year now, and I was really nervous about it at first. But in the last year that I've gotten to know you, I've learned how to be that. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I guess I'm trying to say that as a teacher, you are all teachers. All of you are teachers. I mean, you have kids, you have family members. It's what I've learned about this is you don't always have to be looking within. Like looking out is also a part. I mean, it's basic stuff, but these things need to be said out loud. Yeah. So mahalo, mahalo, mahalo.
Thanks to all of you. One of the things that was a through line through all of what you shared is this idea that aloha is not just content, it's process, right? The process by which the Umeke came into being was a manifestation of aloha at every phase, at every process, because it was not transactional. It was not, you know what I mean? It was not about how much money is this gonna make me or cost me. I will also say that it was a testament to Meleana and to Laurie. Where's Laurie? Because as is often the case, like an artist might have a vision and maybe what is able to be offered is only a fraction of that. And rather than to adjust the project to fit the budget, you maintained your vision, and it was through this belief in the ability to make the Umeke happen and through sheer hard work and calling up friends and like relatives and to bring it forth. So it was love on a scale that involved, sort of everybody within your respective lives, also giving you the grace and the time that it took to make this happen. So I just want to acknowledge all the behind the scenes kind of machinations that it took to bring this to fruition. So yeah, we have a few minutes for questions. I'm happy to run around with a mic. Yes, and I want to thank Monica Lee here, who's with the Hawaii Contemporary, as well as Kina. Kina, where's Kina? And also there's Kina Takahashi, and then Kristen Remington, all staff. And then actually there's also Rich Richardson, who is a vital member of the team who helped to move the Umeke around. So yes, Monica.
I was just curious because we were talking about positionality, and I was wondering how the decision was made on the location of the entrance to the Umeke and the direction it faces.
you know, every single thing was considered. It's due east, as all sacred spaces that I know of, in terms of entrance and exit. And all of that was considered, all of it was, I asked permission of an elder in our community what he thought, one entrance, one exit, all of those things were answered. And I just want to point out above the entrance and exit that it's really a portal. And it is also an ahu. So if those of you who know Ike Hawaii, you know that we have altars everywhere. At Mauna Kea, at the palace, anywhere where we're doing work of spirit in service to. So that's an ahu. So what is above this ahu? But a peva. A peva is that shape, that butterfly patch that has to do with repair. So it's very strategic. It's the only one that is on the inside and the outside. All of the peva on the inside you'll experience are utilitarian. Behind them is all of this heavy-duty logistical mea. But the one above the ahu, the entrance, is the drama of our lives right now. It is to speak to healing and repair that we all have to do together. Otherwise, game over. You know, there have been enough end of times things, but we are actually in a time that is a harbinger of that. I have 4 grandchildren. I would like them to have a future. I remember Kila Lake and Sam Ka'ai saying, unless we do the work in this generation, it'll all be blown away. So when I actually heard that years ago, I was horrified. So we can't go small. Who wants to go home? We all gotta step out there and hope we can do it together, because that's indeed what this piece has been all about. So thank you for that question. That was a good question. Anybody else? Yeah.
I'm, coming from a place of not knowing anything, so I'm sorry if I'm not trying to offend. But can you tell me more about peva and what it is and the significance of peva?
So the peva is a butterfly-shaped patch that mends cracks in the Umeke. Yeah. So. And there's all different types of mending that the bow makers would use, like huini and so forth. But the peva is one of the most known patches to mend cracks in the Umeke. Because the Umeke was so valuable, when it cracked, they didn't throw it away. They kept repairing and repairing, and you might find a Umeke that has tons of patches, but they keep on working. They keep using it until they still use it until it can't be used anymore. Yeah, pretty simple.
So his name is Keone Nunez, cultural leader, well known. And he told me once the Umeke that he liked to look at the most at Bishop Museum were not the pristine, beautiful ones, but the ones that had the cracks and the peva and the repairs. And that, one of the things a peva does, it restores function, right? So your Umeke was broken, and now it has the pevas that have fixed it, and it can return back to the family to be filled with poi or mea'ai. But peva also, it's like a Japanese concept too. Like it doesn't, you don't forget the crack. It has a way of beautifying it. a reminder that that fissure was present. And so I think, and okay, so Dean, you gotta correct me because I've been saying this a lot. Is it true that oftentimes the peva was of a different wood and often a stronger wood, or sometimes even ivory, like there were different, so in other words, the repair has to be stronger than the crack, right? And so when we think about metaphorically peva, we have to be stronger than the chaos around us. And how do these folks function as peva in our society? That they're drawing our attention to the things that are fundamentally wrong within our community, but they're offering us hope. They're offering us a way forward. Not that we forget, but that we are able to sort of reconcile and move forward. I mean, that is, and to be able to function. Again, I think when we think about form and function, I think maybe that's the most magical thing about peva, is it allows us to continue to function. And I think, so I've been saying this, it occurred to me, so I would say, okay, be the peva, not the heva, okay? Heva means like wrong. That's so fundamentally wrong, but we get to choose every day. Do we choose to help with the repair, or do we choose to exacerbate a situation? And then I was talking, who was I talking to today? And I'm like, oh, actually it could be the peva, not the neva. Like, neva meaning club. Like, gee, you can be aggressive and you can, like be this weapon, but you can be also the peva. And what is stronger, right? So I think that how does this, and in that way, kind of like the Umeke is the most glorious manifestation of peva in action. And that you feel the healing capacity of peva, not only when you see it, but when you enter into that space, to be surrounded by peva and to restore, you know what I mean, our own kind of sense of sanity. And then last thing I'll say is, and Weston will correct me sometimes, like, okay, could we predict, so the triennial is a 3-year process. So, could we predict then the state within which we would find us now? Maybe, like, yeah, we would have known a new president potentially was in office. Like, we maybe could have thought things. But I don't know that in our worst, in our worst nightmares, would we find ourselves where we are today. And so in that sense, I think art is more important than ever before. Artists are more important than ever before. God bless you all for doing what you do, and for giving us hope and a reason to keep going, sometimes even when we don't want to. So much love and gratitude, really, to all of you for birthing Umeke La'au into life, but beyond the Umeke La'au, just the daily grind of being an artist in our society. Thank you. So I have a question. Where might the Umeke go after Kapolei?
Rumor has it has options. So I'm just going to say, I don't know if we can talk about it. Should we talk about it? All right. Well, the Umeke has its own mind, by the way. And I actually have learned from this process why people really make offerings to things like canoes or umeke because they become larger than life. So, so this piece hopefully will go to Lahaina because it was invited to Lahaina. It has some very special work after Kapolei, maybe before Lahaina, to do additional work at a museum that will not be named right now or shall be named. Nah. So just know this manifestation will continue to be shared throughout community. So we invite you in. I have a dear friend who surprised me when he came into the Umeke and he sang, and he's a tenor and his voice is really beautiful. So I'm gonna ask him, because he's standing there, and I'm just gonna ask, could you offer something in the Umeke, because it was so profound when you did that. And then you all can just kind of come in and just be a part of it. But this is my beloved friend, Ryan Souza of Kahu. And he doesn't even need a mic. He's just gonna go in there, and he is spirit led as well. So brother, enjoy yourself, and we will follow after you when you head out of the Umeke. Thank you.
From the first time we saw this Umeke at UH, we were blown away. I tell the story of the bowl of light all the time, and I speak of aloha every single day. And to see the magnitude of this Umeke was just so overwhelming, and even now I get choked up because of the immensity of the ideas that come from this Umeke. The power of healing, the power of love that comes from the work that you guys had created, you know? And it's a powerful thing to sit inside and really to feel and hear the voices, which I learned my grandmother's name is read as well, a part of the 38,000. So even more connection I have to this Umeke. I'm gonna go in there and sing a song that was written by Queen Lili Okalani, and it's called Ku'upua o Paoa Kalani, and she wrote this in 1895 from her cell in the Iolani Palace. And as she was imprisoned, all she could do was write her music. Nobody could really come and visit her, but people would bring flowers. And so most of the flowers that they brought would come from her garden in Paoa, until one of her friends brought flowers that came from Waikiki. And so she wrote this beautiful song that speaks about the beauty of this flower. So as I go in, I kind of am at the tail end of my cold. However, I'm gonna go for it. So as you're out here, I want you to really see the Queen writing this song from her bedroom across the street, looking east towards Paoa, looking southeast to Waikiki, and really understanding the legacy that we carry. One of the things that you were mentioning about you not feeling, you're kind of lost in feeling you're not Hawaiian, but the essence is Hawaiian. And Mary Kavenapukui said that, you know, of kukui nut leis, you think these leis are real, they're not real. They're made in China, they're made in the Philippines. They're not real, but the essence of it is real. The essence of why we continue to give kukui and why we represent the kukui nut, even though they're not real kukui nuts, they're made of plastic, but the essence is real. And that's all that any of you really have to know, is that the essence of this aloha is real. And there's nothing that I want you to give less of because you feel you're not Hawaiian, or you're not able to give of this aloha because you're not a part of this culture. All of us, that's what we're here to do, to give of this aloha. And as we live and breathe, our job is to dive deeper into understanding, how can I, somebody who would not have even thought having the capacity to carry this aloha forward, how can I be a vessel of aloha? That's what this Umeke is. It is a vessel of aloha. And so, mahalo meleana for inviting me here today, for making me cry in front of everybody. And mahalo to all of you for this beautiful work that you do. And thank you for facilitating as well. So as I go in there, just I'm not going to need the mic, but just go ahead and close your eyes and feel what I'm singing.